Welcome to the Powercat Podcast, the original K-State sports show. Here's your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
And we are live from the Cats and Dogs studio. Tim Fitzgerald joined by double basketball analyst Ethan Fitzgerald, who covers K-State women's basketball for us at GoPowercat. And of course, the left-hander Missy Heidrick, who does all kinds of women's analysis for all kinds of people, much more important than us. But she's joined us today. Kansas State wins 80-79 in the second round of the NCAA tournament in Lexington, Kentucky, knocking off the hometown Kentucky Wildcats in a incredible game, but mostly Temira Poindexter was absolutely incredible. 24 points, all on three-pointers. She hit 8 trays and had 6 blocks and 6 rebounds. I want to start there. Missy, I don't know if I know of any NCAA stat line in a tournament quite like hers. That's an incredible combination of outside shooting and interior defense.
Well, it just goes back to the idea that you are going to have a complete team in order to advance your way through the NCAA tournament. And so much of the focus for this Kansas State squad in the last week or so has been around the likes of Ayoka Lee and Serena Sundell. And I think Temira Poindexter has been that complementary player that they brought in through the portal and has delivered when they needed her to the most in big time situations this season. And her length, her ability to be aggressive in what she was able to do today, I think was a difference maker. And obviously she is and has always been known in her career as a 3-point shooter. And she has space. She's got range. She caught shots in rhythm today. She caught them in secondary looks, in transition, within the half-court sets, and she stepped up and knocked him down. So if you're looking for veteran players to make plays in tournament time, this is one that needed to do it, and they got a huge game out of her. And it is the old adage now, my friend, survive and advance.
They did, Ethan. She was spectacular. This is one of those incidents where I can just see the coaches saying, let's go out and get one more piece for the roster. They go into the transfer portal, get her out of Tulsa. She was spectacular at that level, has kind of been up and down, but a very good player all season. She just has had her peaks and valleys, but this was the highest of the peaks. Jeff Mittie and his staff won this game with the transfer portal, and this is exactly why they added her, to have that one more person that can come through in the clutch, and boy, did she ever.
You got to credit Temira. She started 0 for 5 from the field.
I know.
A lot of players would say, okay, it's not my day. Let someone else shoot it. Instead, she finished the game shooting 8 of 10 from 3. Without that, K-State has no shot. And you mentioned the transfer portal. You can't forget what Kennedy Taylor did in 16 minutes. K-State shot 11 free throws today. She had 7 of them. She was the one getting Kentucky into some foul trouble. Both transfers, big additions. They showed up today. Temira was unreal. This is probably one of her best games on both sides of the ball. I thought she was great defensively. 6 blocks is unreal. And she is not the tallest forward, especially against a Kentucky team that's one of the tallest teams in the tournament. You could go on and on about how great Temira was today. She was ice cold to start. She could have just stopped shooting, but instead she kept the mentality shoot or shoot, and she shot the damn ball pretty well.
Yeah, she really did. Thank you for watching this GoPowercat postgame live with our basketball analyst, Ethan Woodhull Fitzgerald. I just use your real name. But if you want to find him on the Twitter machine, you can see it down there.
That's my real last name is my Twitter
That's
handle.
A real last name, not the mom's maiden name crap.
Yep.
And Missy Heidrick, you have some news on when the team will be back.
Yes. If you are wanting to meet the team tonight, right now it looks like they are planning to land around 8 p.m. tonight in Manhattan. It sounds like they'll be pretty vocal on social medias if anything changes, time change, if they're a little bit early or late. But 8 p.m. tonight at the Manhattan Regional Airport, they are planning to land.
Missy, this was a game I felt like they lost a few times. Mm-hmm. And there was always that answer, but let's be honest. They caught a break. That was a really beautiful inbounds play run by Kentucky to near perfection, except she missed a shot. After, and her name escapes me, the point guard. I loved her. She was amazing. And but boy, with the game on the line, it was about a 4 or 6 foot shot that bounded off the rim at the buzzer. Dodged a bullet, but that's how the postseason works.
Well, and that's what I think you have to understand you were going to get in a 4-5 matchup. And yes, this is played on their home court, and you've got a crowd into it. I think K-State did a great job of being able to manage that, not allowing it to overwhelm them too much, because there were a couple points where Kentucky made some runs, and then the crowd is into it, and now all of a sudden you've got to be able to sort of put the brakes on that. So I think they did a great job in that instance. You know, there were a host of defensive mistakes that were made by both teams in this game, especially in the second half. You know, the go-ahead 3 that Kentucky had in regulation, you go underneath the screen. You cannot give Georgia Amore that shot. You know, she is a fifth-year senior. She's been to the Final Four. She's one of the best point guards in the country. You can't make those types of glaring mistakes. This K-State team was out-rebounded, outgunned on the backboard today. And the one number I'll tell you, which I feel like if you're going to dodge a bullet, and it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago, is survive in advance. Does it matter if you win by 1 or 21? You're still moving on. They gave up 19 offensive rebounds today. All right. That's unheard of to come out with a win. But you grind it out. You make the plays. You get the stops. And when you needed it most, players, they absolutely did that. So I just give credit. I've always been, you know, this is a Kentucky squad. Kenny Brooks in his first year there did a fantastic rebuild job coming from Virginia Tech into the SEC, knowing what an uphill battle that is. And for them to have the kind of year that they did, to have a host as a 4 seed, fantastic. He very well could and is one of the finalists for National Coach of the Year and very deserving. I've been a huge Georgia Amore fan since the moment she stepped on the floor at Virginia Tech, an outstanding guard and just an outstanding representative of women's basketball in general. But this K-State team did what they had to do. They found a way to make the plays down the stretch. And you need a little bit of luck. You need to have the ball bounce your way every so often. But again, it doesn't matter. You're moving on, and they're going to be headed to some bright lights, and now they got to go west.
Yep, we will get into that in a second. But boy, I loved her. I loved watching her play. She's a true point guard, a creator, and a shot maker. K-State overcame that. Yeah, when they went under the screen, I think it was Glenn. I'm like, no,
yep, it was.
No. But let's set aside the end of regulation, the end of overtime. Those were more important. But Ethan, for me, the end of the first half was enormous because K-State was just kind of playing catch up. Just not quite getting there, not making shots on a consistent basis. And then they hit a couple threes. I think it was Poindexter and Glenn maybe. And all of a sudden they took the lead and they were able to hold on to that lead at halftime. I thought that changed the entire complexion of the game. Now it was Kentucky feeling a little pressure instead of Kansas State. After not being able to get over the hump, all of a sudden they asserted themselves and took a lead at halftime.
Well, you want to talk about transfers. Ironically, K-State was down, I think, 29-23. The only threes were, I think K-State was 3 of 13 from 3, and all 3 had come from Sundell. Yeah. Next 2 possessions, Temira Poindexter actually hit both the threes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to get her going, and now K-State's tied. And then all of a sudden, the next 4 points to get K-State to 33 come from Kennedy Taylor getting to the free throw line, causing fouls on Kentucky. Yeah, the team was cold, and that's one of the things that this team does well. This offense struggled for the first 16 minutes. But with a defense playing that well, you're going to be in the game no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're 3 of 14 from 3 and no one can hit. You're only down 6, and it takes 2 possessions to tie it up. But like you said, it flipped the game on its head for sure. Kentucky felt comfortable. K-State couldn't hit anything. Kentucky was on a drought too, but they weren't too worried because, like we said, K-State couldn't hit anything. And then here comes Temira Poindexter. She keeps shooting, finally sees him go in. K-State ties it, and then Kennedy Taylor comes in. Kentucky probably thinks, oh, we have a 6'4", 6'5", and a 6'7" forward. What's a 6'2" forward going to do to us? Kennedy, I think, gets 2 offensive rebounds and draws 2 fouls and hits all 4 free throws. And then she finished with 7 of 7 from the free throw line.
You know, Missy, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Missy, we've made a lot about the rotating backups for Lee. And Ilka played fine today. They gave her a lot of attention. As he just said, they have a lot of height. They were able to complement that, and sometimes even front and backer that she just couldn't get the ball.
Right.
K-State started to find a way to get it into her, but then she got into foul trouble. We're not going to talk about the fouls. We're just not going to do it. And it's like, oh, no, she's not going to play today. We're going to send her over here. But K-State's had this threesome of backup posts that they can rotate and kind of change how they play. Taylor comes in today, and what I liked about it is they didn't have to change how they played. They played the exact same brand of basketball. They kept dumping it inside, and she had effectiveness in there that allowed K-State to kind of settle into a rhythm of how we needed to defeat this defense, because Kentucky was playing some pretty good defense.
Well, it changes then the matchups, and I think it created some matchup problems for Kentucky in that they thought that it would be a complete change of what they do, especially in the half court when you take Lee out, but they really stuck to that same game plan. They had good shots. They were just missing them. K-State, I thought, within the framework of their offense, got good looks in that first half. They just didn't go in. Give credit. We said this, I think, earlier in the week, Fitz, if you were going to talk about some keys for this team in order for them to continue to move in this tournament, you were going to have big days from Serena Sundell. She's got to lead from the front, which she did yet again. And then you got to get help from your bench. And that bench is going to come in different forms and fashions. I said all season, when you make that substitution for Ioka Lee, that post player's got to do three things. You got to defend, you got to rebound, and don't foul. Any extra bump offensively is added bonus. And so I think that they did that. They got exactly what they needed from Kennedy Taylor today. She's aggressive. She's going to work hard. She's incredibly active. And I think that just caused a few mismatches along the way, changed how Kentucky was going to attack them offensively as well. Because with Taylor in there, it's no longer just Lee camped in the paint, backline defender, last line of defense. You get a little bit more movement, a little bit more activity. And I think that, again, can put an offense back on their heels, and they were able to control things headed into halftime.
Let's look at the stats real quick for Kansas State. Poindexter, as we said, 24 points on 8 of 17 shooting, 8 of 15 from 3. She shot 2 inside the arc, said, nope, just going to do my business out here today. 6 rebounds, 6 blocks. I want to point out Jalen Glenn. She played all 45 minutes, as did Sundell. Her stats weren't great, but she was an absolute glue person in this game. She had 8 rebounds, 6 assists. She was just out there doing all that little stuff, even though her shot wasn't falling. Sundell with 19. 14 assists for Serena Sundell. Guys, she's so sneaky with that. She's just so effective with it, but you don't sit there and go, she's got to be at 14. I thought maybe she had 7 or 8, but she just keeps dishing it out. And Lee, of course, was effective again, 16 and 9. I'm so glad I didn't bet for her double-double. I looked at that and I thought, nope, the odds aren't good enough. Lee shot 8 of 18 from the field. I thought Kentucky did an outstanding job as best they could with her, even though she was in foul trouble and played only 28 minutes. Kennedy Taylor, as we just said, might have been the secondary star of this game with 11 points, 8 rebounds in 17 minutes of play. And as he said, 7 of 7 from the free throw line. K-State wins 80-79 to advance to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2002 for this program. And just the third time, I believe, in school history. This is this was a breakthrough for the program, for Coach Mittie, and it just felt like these seniors, starting with Poindexter in this game, these seniors absolutely refused to lose this game.
Yeah, I think Kentucky was up 5 with 1:20 left.
Yeah,
it felt like, okay, they fought, but it wasn't enough. And then sure enough, they figure it out. And the seniors, we played 7 players today, which is extremely rare. I don't think Mittie's done that in I don't know how long. But it worked, and it was led by seniors. There are only 2 non-seniors that played, Taryn and Ziana. And neither of their stat lines are great, but they both played crucial roles, especially Ziana. Ziana was great on at Georgia. She was fantastic defensively. But the seniors did not want to go home. They remember what happened last year, losing at home to Colorado. I'm pretty sure one of Serena's opening statements in the postgame was something about remembering the pain she felt after the Colorado loss last year. And she wasn't going to let it happen again. And sure enough, she hits the tying shot to send it to overtime. but I can't harp on Serena Sundell enough.
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan of her since she set foot on campus. I mean, they showed a stat in the first round that she's gained like 20 pounds of muscle. Her full court sprints like a whole second faster. She works hard, and it shows. She's now the all-time career assist leader at K-State, passing Shaylee Lenning, I believe, who had 800. And she carried this team early in the game, like we said. She hit the only threes for the first 17 minutes. 19 points, 14 assists would have been a school record if she didn't break it earlier this year against KU with 15. To do that on this stage, I mean, we remember what Marquise Noel did against Michigan State. I mean, this is eerie similar. 19 points, 14 assists. She played all 45 minutes. I mean, the seniors didn't want to go home, and they hit the shots when it mattered. And like Missy said, you survive in advance. You won. You're going on.
Missy, now is your opportunity to do something you've probably long wanted to do and tell me I'm an idiot and insane. I'm watching this game. Sundell ends up with 19 points, 14 assists, but she had 5 turnovers. I didn't think Serena played that good a game, but she just kind of does her thing quietly and yet putting up numbers and stats. I thought she had some crucial turnovers, some bad mistakes, and yet she puts up unbelievable numbers in this win.
Well, she's been one of the most complete players that I think you're going to find, not only in the Big 12, but across the country at the guard spot over the course of this season. And she has some intangibles that a lot of other people at her position do not have. She's got size. She's got an explosive first step that I think has been a big advantage for her. And you think about some of the ways of which she has found to score throughout the season, that she hasn't been perimeter dominant, that it is a mid-range game, that it's to be able to take people one-on-one and ISO in the post. And she's been incredibly effective at that. The three-point shot has never been a big piece of what she's done. I've never been a fan, to be perfectly honest. I think her form is not great. It's flat, it's slow. In order for her to be better in the W, in order to have an impact and put herself on a WNBA roster, the three-point shot has got to improve. But that's a whole nother conversation, because right now what you're talking about is a kid that I think from the get-go has been a winner. And she's been one of those people that says, I don't want to be denied. I understand what that feeling was like. You don't want that. It completely sucks. But yet there's only going to be one team that will finish this tournament with that feeling of exuberation. Everyone else is going to feel awful. Right. You want to see if you can put that in the back burner as long as humanly possible. And today you've got players that led from the front, and that is Serena Sundell. I've just been incredibly impressed with her. The beauty of this now is that I think she will get even more attention, which she rightly deserves. As this team puts themselves into the Sweet 16, there's going to be a lot of talk about Ayoka Lee, and again, rightly so. But I do think that there will be some flowers that will be given to Serena Sundell, and she absolutely deserves those. And maybe not even enough, because there's a ton of great guards that are going to be in the Sweet 16, but she's absolutely one of them.
We are awaiting the post-game press conference, which we will post at GoPowercat and on this YouTube channel as soon as we're done here. If they ever post it, come on, NCAA, come on. Some people want this thing, and apparently it's over. I want my news.
But you got to remember, like, the people in Kentucky are a little down in the map, so they're not going to be overly excited to get you this like right away. So let's be honest.
Come on, Wildcats. It's like a code. We're supposed to. I don't know. This program needed it. They really did. And I feel like Jeff Mittie's had this program bumping into a ceiling, and today they broke that barrier. And I don't know where this carries them, but this is a tremendous opportunity going against a 1 seed. I'll have Missy break down USC in a second, but boy, what a huge step for Jeff Mittie's program.
Yeah. Exactly. It's always been Mittie can't make the Sweet 16. We've never made the second weekend. He has all this talent. He can't do anything with it. And then this team finally did it. And now that barrier's gone. You can't say he's never made the second weekend. You can't say this team hasn't made the Sweet 16 in 23 years. You can't say that anymore, because Mittie and staff did it. And honestly, this was maybe one of his most well-coached games. His timeouts were great. The plays out of timeouts were great. He didn't go away from his game plan. He didn't try to throw something weird at Kentucky. He just stuck with it, and it worked. The sad thing is we won't know our opponent actually until late tomorrow as USC takes on Mississippi State at 9, I think. But, I mean, who cares who you play next? It doesn't matter. You win in advance. Yeah, you might see Juju Watkins, but you've seen Caitlin Clark before. You beat her. You've seen Georgia Moore. You beat her. This team's broke the barrier, and who knows how high the limit is now. There's nothing holding them back now. They're not the team that needs to win anymore. They're the team that can play free.
Yeah. Missy, I just did violate the rules of journalism by advancing USC before they've won the game. But in women's basketball, the 1 seed rarely loses in the second round. It's just how it shakes out. But give us what you know about USC and if there's anything of note about Mississippi State, just in case.
Well, this Mississippi State squad, they won yesterday in that 8-9 game. They beat Cal, and so they advanced to play USC. I think it's set for 9:00 our time tomorrow night. I'm a huge fan of Mississippi State, just in the sense I love Sam Purcell, their head coach, great energy, and he does a really good job. Had been with Jeff Walls at Louisville for many years before he took that program over a couple years ago. But they are up against the number 1 seed, and this is a USC team that is playing with a massive chip on their shoulder. They won the regular season Big Ten title their first year in that league, did lose to UCLA in the tournament finals. And Lindsey Gottlieb, their head coach, she was not at all excited about them being the 4th number 1 within the brackets. Still yet a number 1 and talented, and a generational talent is what you have in Juju Watkins. It is a different level of what Caitlin Clark has done. I truly believe that is what she will continue to do for women's basketball. And it is because of how much she controls the game, her size, her athleticism. She is just smooth as silk and so fun to watch. A year ago, this team, as a freshman, everyone thought that they could maybe get to the Final Four. They couldn't do it. What Lindsey Gottlieb did was she kind of realized, and for a lot of us that watched in the national landscape a year ago, Juju needed help. She needed a few more wingmen. She needed a couple more Robins to the Batman idea, right? They did that. They went to the portal. They got Kiki Iriafen, who came from Stanford. She is a fantastic multi-dimensional swing post player. They already had Rihanna Marshall, one of the best shot blockers in the country. She locks down the middle. 2 freshman guards who are one of the top 5 recruiting class in the country that play a ton of minutes. Keep your eyes on a young lady by the name of Talia von Olfen. She's a 5th-year senior. She played in the Final Four a year ago at Oregon State and transferred after that team kind of blew up and decimated, and she's a 5th-year starter there for USC. More parts, more pieces of the puzzle around Juju Watkins. But I'm going to tell you right now that congratulations, Kansas State fans. You want to watch the elite of women's basketball, you're going to get to see it with Juju Watkins.
That's unfair. They have a player named Juju and Kiki. It's kind of cool.
Double whammy.
Is that someone Sundell will be put on?
I think it'll be really interesting. Juju is she's a matchup problem for everybody. I would think if I'm Jeff Mittie and his staff, and you look at this from a matchup perspective, wouldn't be surprised if they go a little bit more zone against USC. Force Juju to have to find gaps, get to the middle, see if she can't slice and dice you that way. Make the others have to beat you from the perimeter. But I would see this maybe more of a matchup for a Jalen Glenn or even Poindexter because of their length. And you're gonna have trouble keeping her in front of you. There's just no doubt. She's so good in the open floor, so good in the half court. She reads the defense. It's just uncanny. But there are the pieces defensively, I think that K-State can throw some different looks at them that can keep her back a little bit. And if Juju only gets 25, that's a pretty darn good day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, like, and I'm being totally honest.
Yep.
I mean, look at the games of which they lost throughout the course of the season. Not very many for USC. And, she's still in the 20s, in the 30s. I mean, she can post numbers like nobody's business. She's super fun to watch. And I'm excited that people in the Midwest are going to get more of a flavor of understanding what Juju is. I think now that they've been in the Big Ten, people are seeing that. But she's really good, and it will be a challenge unlike any other that Kansas State has encountered. But it's tournament time, and that's the beauty of it. You just have to do it once.
Indeed. These stats are really interesting, guys. Total rebounds, Kentucky won that 51-44. Points off of turnovers, Kentucky 16-9. Points in the paint, Kentucky 32-28. Second chance points, Kentucky 19-12. And yet K-State wins, and a big reason was they were 40% from three-point range at 14-35. UK was 27% at 8-30, but also assists, 25 assists for Kansas State on 29 made field goals. That is elite. That's incredible team offense, and that is why Kansas State won this game. They were the better team overall, even though they didn't execute elements of the game nearly as well. And of course, they had 13 blocks to 7 for UK, notable because UK is one of the best shot blocking teams in the country. But yeah, sharing the ball, was the big reason why K-State won this game.
Yeah, and you've been watching this season. This isn't new. I think K-State's second in the country in assists per game behind UConn, I believe. Of course, Serena is going to be the catalyst to that. She is every game. But, I mean, 14 assists to Kentucky had 14 assists as a team. So Serena tied them by herself. Then Jalen Glenn adds in 6. Temira adds in 2. Temira doesn't usually get many assists. So 2 assists for her is good. Aoka had 1. Ziana had 1. Taryn had 1. So 60 or 7 players today contributed with an assist. And that's not new for K-State. That's why it works even right now, even when Aoka isn't on the floor. It's not that this team's going to have to struggle in the offensive half because Aoka's not in. They know how to share the ball, and they do it really well, even without Aoka Lee in the game. Going forward, it's going to keep being that way. And if they want to make the Elite Eight somehow, it starts with sharing the ball, and they'll have to do that once again.
Okay, sometimes when you host these things, you've got a question you want to ask, but it's too early in the show. You can't ask it now. You got to get the details out there. And then, knowing me, by the end of the show, I have forgotten that question. I remember the question, and it's probably the most important question that I'll ask in this podcast. Hey, Missy, what's the most 3-pointers you hit in a game?
Oh, God. I'd have to go back and look. I don't think it was 8. I was probably in like the 6th grade, somewhere in there. 6 probably. Yeah.
Which is amazing because you shot with the wrong hand.
Hey, just depends. Not everybody sees it that way, to be honest.
Just to be clear, though, 2 left-handers had children that are right-handed?
Oh, 100%. Yes, you are correct. And, when you have to figure out how to teach your kids to tie their shoes, like that was a little traumatic. It was very traumatic, actually. We figured it out. It took a minute. But yes. So they live on the right side of the world. We live on the left. It's fine.
That's all right. E, do you know why I'm not left-handed? You're going to like this story.
There's an actual story to this?
There's an actual story. I write with my left hand. I do all the little stuff with my left hand. That's
I didn't even know that.
And I'm really good with both hands. That's why I was juggling for a while, play volleyball. I went outside. I don't remember much of my youth because my sister, Ethan's mother, beat my memories out of me because she beat me all the time. And but I remember going out to play catch with her, and I started to throw the ball with my left hand. And she made me switch. So basically, the reason I'm here today is my sister screwed up my pitching career.
Yeah, robbed your pro career.
Yep.
I'll remind her of that.
Missy, give me. Let's say they play USC. We think that'll happen. Maybe they'll get once in a while get that miracle and get that upset in front of you in the bracket, and off you go. How challenging is this?
It's a huge challenge. There's no doubt about it. But I do believe that over the course of the season, as this team has kind of ridden the wave of what they did, games with Iocoli, games without, games with, games without, into the Big 12 tournament. You beat TCU at the time. They have not shied away from challenges or big opportunities. And I think that's really the message from the very beginning of the season, that this was big expectations and big goals. One of those goals to get to the second weekend of the tournament. It has been the thing that has been out of reach for this Kansas State program for many, many years. I think you said 23. And so when you add that together, that's a long time. But now that's the part that should be celebrated. You get to do that for the next probably 24 to 48 hours. And then you got to turn the page and understand the challenge that is in front of you. This will be in Spokane. There's no more playing on home courts. You go into neutral sites and understand that the best player in the country is what is going to be across the way from you when you tip it off next weekend. Everyone's going to have to come to play. You're going to have to bring your best game. They cannot afford to have nights. They cannot give up 19 offensive rebounds like they did today. They cannot do that to a team like USC. They will punish you for that. So some of those things can be addressed and you can talk about them, and it's going to have to be an emphasis for this team. Opportunity presents itself. It's what you do with it now that counts the most.
It wasn't their best performance of the year, but it got the job done. So give me your closing thoughts as we begin to wrap this thing up.
Defense wins championships.
Mm-hmm.
You want to beat USC? You're going to have to play defense. You're going to have to stop Juju Watkins. Kiki's no joke in the post. She will stretch you out and make you guard to the perimeter. You could go crazy from three, but if you let USC play their offense, you're going to get into a race to the finish line with a team that doesn't lose a lot of games. So defense wins championships. You want to take care of USC, or if it's Mississippi State, sure, getting some offense would help a lot, but you're not going to beat a team like USC with purely offense. You've got to play defense.
Yep.
Hey, Ethan, I would give you one quote. The late, great Pat Summitt has a quote that she uses. She says that offense sells tickets, defense wins games, rebounding wins championships.
Okay.
So that is one of those X factors you're going to have to keep your eye on, that you can get stops, you can do that, you can turn them over. But if you cannot dominate the glass and you allow a team with the size and athleticism of USC to rebound the way they want to, it makes for a really long day.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Ethan, 8 o'clock, give us the details on the return again.
I haven't checked my phone in 30 minutes because we've been doing this, but before we came on, it was reported that they would be landing around 8 p.m. at Manhattan Regional Airport. If there's any changes to that, they said they would post it on social medias, I assume from the main women's basketball account. But right now, 8 p.m. at Manhattan Regional Airport is the planned landing time.
Very good. Kansas State advances to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2002. Jeff Mittie and the Wildcats are off to Spokane. Spokanings. Is that a person from Spokane? Are they Spokanings? I don't know, but they're going to play up there. We're not sure who yet because USC will play Mississippi State. Did you say 9 p.m. tomorrow?
Yep, West Coast.
Yes. I don't do that. Someone tell me on Tuesday who won. That's it. I got the greatest women's basketball analysts in the country to do this podcast. I appreciate it, Ethan and Missy. We will probably be back together again this upcoming week as we cover the Cats. And also, folks, if you're not subscribing to GoPowercat.com, we're at 50% off right now. It's a great time to subscribe, and we're giving you that women's basketball coverage that you want so much. I appreciate everyone watching. I'm Fitz, and we are done with this special live Kansas State women off to the Sweet 16, and we will talk to you later.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.